Well, hello friends, this here is David Vose, and today is the February 14th. Boy, time's going so fast now, I can't even keep up with it. Well, today is a beautiful day. It's a little more cloudy today, and I thought I'd try doing this straight on. You see, I've got kind of a bed back there. I was just camping, and so I've got my little propane. It's kind of a neat stove. I never saw anything like it. This modern age, I'll tell you. This thing has got a little, like a spray can thing, just a small butane spray can thing that you stick on there. And so it lights itself. You don't need a light. And I can make my coffee that way when I go camping. And I've got that cooler back there, and I put ice in it. So, anyway, we've really been getting into some interesting things. Today I want to kind of recap and go back over a couple of things, because I think there's something that a lot of people some of the people who are just coming out of some sort of church or their religion, and they're starting to think maybe there's something more. They're listening, but they're not sure of what I'm saying. They're a little frightened of what I'm saying. Sounds kind of good, but they're like, not quite getting it. Our world is so insane. We've talked about this. We're just being lied to. Everything is a lie. I mean, some of you get this concept when you look at something like politics. You realize that politics is a lie. It's not just, oh, well, he told a lie, right? He's human. He told a lie or something. He's not a good person. This guy's involved in politics told a lie. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying the entire system is a lie. That these beings that are running for president, most of them have been brainwashed. They're puppets. And they are absolute false. They're put in there primarily to deceive you. I mean, it's exactly like a commercial. You understand that a commercial's not coming on to tell you all the truth and wonderful things about the product because it's for your information, it's beneficial for you, and this is a community service. No, the commercial's coming on there to try and convince you to buy something. So they're not going to tell you anything about that product that's bad. That's a lie. They're going to tell you things that's misleading. That's a lie. But it's much worse than that. And I think most of you know that. Because you understand that if there's a commercial selling you cigarettes, here's the thing. Back in the day when they sold cigarettes, they would have some cowboy going, this is really cool. You need to do this. And it was this pressure. They could create, bombarding all of society with this image of a man in his cowboy hat and his horse. He's like, I want to be like him. You see, it's just mind control. It's not just a lie. It is deep. You say, well, that's just products and stuff. Of course, they're going to try and lie to us. They're trying to sell us products. But our whole society's not a lie. Okay, so some of you know that our whole society is a lie. Government, all the rules, the court system is insane. You know this. Some of you know this. But what's really mind-boggling is that a lot of you are still involved in a church and you don't see that it's the same thing in your church. Just stop and think about it. What church are you? Jehovah's Witness? Lutheran? Baptist? Catholic? What earthly reason does any organization have in making you a member of their group? Well, number one, you're going to give them money. Well, how does money get involved in this? This is supposed to be about spirituality. Where did money come into the picture? Jesus never said anything about money. Remember in the early church, it says they had all things common. Think about that. You joined the church, you gave up everything and gave it all to the pastor. No. You lived in a community, and the pastor did too. All of you shared everything equally. There was not any of this begging for money. It is a complete scam. See, the word faith is totally being used against you. See, maybe there is something, well, of course there's something good about the word faith. Faith is a Greek word. The apostles used it, and we need to have it. But you're being abused. They're using that word improperly, and they've convinced you that it means something that it doesn't mean in order to convince you to be in their church. And you've got to wake up, friends. Faith does not mean that, well, I don't understand the Bible very well. I don't know if there's mistakes or, I don't know a lot of things, but my pastor says I have to believe this. I was raised this way. I'm not allowed to ask any questions. If I were to ask that question, that would be blasphemy in itself. I'm going to go to hell right off the bat if I start questioning anything about God. And we don't want to go to hell and burn forever. And don't even start wondering what kind of a God would burn people in hell forever. Don't even question anything, because that's what faith is. Faith means you do what we say, and you do everything we say, and you can't even think, not let alone do anything against our church. You can't even think against our church. We told you that there is a God, and there's 3 in 1. Don't ask what that means. If you do, we'll give you some little, stereotyped answer that we don't even understand. Maybe we'll say, if you ask twice, the first time we'll just tell you the answer. The second time you ask, we'll say, well, that's a pretty complicated question you're asking there, buddy. And I'm a pastor, and I don't know. We don't know all these things. You have to accept it on faith. That's fine. There are things you have to accept on faith. Why you're here. I don't know. I accept I'm here. There's got to be a reason. I feel in my heart that somebody loves me. I accept that on faith. I trust life. I think it's important that we trust our Father in heaven. That's faith. Trusting our Father in heaven. Listening for His direction and guidance. Knowing that certainly He must be guiding us. As opposed to fear and superstition and thinking that everything's against us. I agree with that kind of faith. But you see, I'm having faith in my Father in heaven and in His guidance in my life. I'm not putting faith in a man's version of what my reality is. I'm not going to trust a human being. I'm not even going to trust my parents. They could be wrong. If my mom and dad told me there's a boogeyman or a Martian in the sky that rules over the world, I wouldn't believe them just because I trust my mother and father. See, that's not faith. In fact, you should be intelligent enough to know that your mother and father doesn't know everything. And you should be intelligent enough to know that the churches are in apostasy. And if you think about that for a moment, and you see how these people run the commercials in our government and they've taken over everything, you don't think they've taken over your church? And if they did take over your church, don't you think they're trying to get you to believe in something that's so insidious, so insane, because what they want is control? And don't you think they're going to use stuff like you're going to hell if you don't believe this, or you've got to obey all these commandments. You can't lie, you can't murder. You say, well, of course you can't lie and murder, Dave. That's the truth. But here's the thing. They lie and murder every day. But these laws are pretty convenient. You're not allowed to say anything against what we tell you. That's what they're really twisting around to say, is that you're under this fear that if you do anything, you're going to hell, so you need to obey the authorities. That's what it's really all about. They can have these businesses. Who's running who's the corporate owners of this world? They're the ones that are stealing us blind, but we're not allowed to say anything. But if we were to steal a loaf of bread to feed our family, we're going to hell. You see how they're using this as a mind They've created a society. These 10 commandments are the basis for which our society runs. And it's not a loving, good society. It's a society in which we are the slaves. You see, originally this law taught that we are slaves. That's the basis of the law. You're a slave. You do what I say. You cannot talk to any other gods because I'm the only one. You listen to me. I'm jealous God. I'll send you to hell. I'll fry you in fire. I'll wipe out every man, woman, and child. If your mother or your father goes against me, then you got to have to throw the first stone against them. I want absolute obedience. This is what Jehovah taught. And these are the laws, and these laws are put in place so that you will not deviate. Not just be morally good, but you won't even go and look at these other gods or listen to other people's opinions. You must appease me. You see your son there? And you love your son, don't you? Well, I want you to sacrifice your son. Abraham, I want you to give me your son. Ooh, boy, that's pretty hard. Okay, but I'm God and I'm jealous, and I'm telling you right now, you better do it. As an example to everybody to come after you, you need to just get down on your knees and obey blindly everything I say. Don't look for my credentials. Okay, I could be the devil saying, give me your son. You don't know. But this is the book that you believe, and you just somehow convince you, oh, Abraham gave his son to God, right? Some God came down, and he ate and drank with this being. He was a human being. Two of these beings, just like Jehovah, were standing there talking to Abraham. Two of them went over there and nuked Sodom and Gomorrah. Oh, they were all bad. There wasn't even 5 righteous people in that city. They had to kill them all. Really? Have you ever seen a city that didn't have 5 people that were worthy of having some sort of mercy? Really? Is there a city in the world ever? Has there ever been a city in the world that every human being in that city deserved to die? And remember, it wasn't just a city. It was Sodom and Gomorrah and all the surrounding towns. It was an entire nation. And we're finding out in the Sumerian tablets that they nuked the entire Middle East. It was a total, complete destruction of the area. Just like the flood. According to the Bible, we get confused. We got this human being that demands sacrifice. It was a sweet-smelling odor to his nostrils, demanding obedience and slavery, and we think that's God. Well, same thing going on today. You're being duped. You go into a church, a building, sitting down. What are you there for? Your indoctrination? They call it indoctrination. Your mind manipulation? Just for once, stop and think. Why am I being brainwashed? If this is so true, why can't I just know this for myself? Why do I have to have faith? This kind of faith, kind of blind faith. This sort of, obedience without knowing all the facts. It's not a matter of, trust us, we live on Cyrus or Sirius. Trust us, have faith. We said so, must be true. That's fine. What I want to know is, are you really have authority to send me to hell to burn forever and ever and ever? Do I really need to get down and become a slave to my neighbor or to you without knowing for certain that you really are my Father in heaven? Especially since Jesus came and said we're free, said his Father is love and there is no darkness within him. Especially since Paul says we're under grace, that all we got to do is have love. We need to love one another. See, they've convinced you now that, that just means if you're loved, you'll keep all these commandments. Jesus said you'll keep my commandments. And this is my commandment, that you love one another. Jesus didn't say, and this is my commandment, the same Moses said. Jesus said that Moses accuses you. He is the accuser, and then he also said he's the slanderer. Jesus said, I'm not accusing you. Look in your Bible in the book of John. This is what Jesus said. I do not accuse you. There is one that accuses you, and he is Moses. I don't accuse you. I have come to give you life, and that more abundantly. I love you. My Father in heaven loves you. All you got to do is believe that I love you and receive my love. So a lot of you are going to this church and you're just sitting there. Oh, wait a minute. I didn't bring my book. I've got to follow along in the book. Oh, there's these little songs. Oh, we are faithful. We're going to serve God. Give our money to the pastor. Just think about what you're saying. Why do you got to have this over and over and over again? And put your hand and then be enticed to start crying. And why do you have to say Jesus instead of just Jesus? Why does the pastor got to get up there and rail? Try to convince you. Try to persuade you. Really? True, I'm trying to persuade you too. Out of love. I'm trying to do it because I'm amazed at you. I'm trying to bring you back to your senses because I don't think you realize when you sit there and see these phrases over and over and over again that it's just brainwashing. Holy, 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 holy. Say it again. Holy. How is something said over and over and over again? It's like ceremonies. Dip them in the water all the way down. Bring them back up. Sprinkle a little this and rub a little oil and say a couple holy words. And next. Take the wafer. Now you're saved. Really? Friends, think about this entire system. It's wrong. It's wicked. It's brainwashing. Until the human race knows for themselves what is reality, what is truth. See, that's where science came in. Some time ago, we come to this place where we said, you know what, maybe we should actually verify what we believe. Do some experiments and see if it actually is true. This is science. So, oh, Dave, now we know you're from the devil because you believe in science. I don't believe everything that scientists say. Sometimes they're brainwashed and they're not using actual science. Sometimes they're saying things that they don't know. But when something is verified in a scientific manner, I tend to believe that more than just somebody told me that's what that I'm supposed to believe. Especially when it's some sort of ceremonial thing. I was like, in the name of the Father and the Mother and the Mother and the I know that there's something really stupid to repetitions and ceremonial insanity. I know that I'm not going to get saved if I get dunked in the water. I'm not going to get saved if I have holy words or, why not just go abracadabra, Shazam, you're saved. I like that one better. Abracadabra, Shazam, you're saved. Let's make that religion up. And you got to believe it, right? Well, no, Dave, I can't believe that because it's not in the Bible. Well, all this other stuff that your church teaches is not in the Bible either. John is the one who baptized. This comes from the old system, the ceremonies. Paul says, I've baptized. Back in the day when I was before Christ, I baptized people. But Paul says, I was not sent by Jesus to baptize people. It's not why I was sent. We have another kind of baptism, the baptism in the Spirit. It's symbolic of what we really need. We need to be immersed into, these forces and overcome these forces and come up out of these forces in a new birth. It represents something. The ceremony means nothing. You've got to use your mind, friends, to understanding, to knowledge. You've got to get over all this ceremony and laws and rituals. The Apostle Paul says is that all these rituals and laws are done away. And we are under absolutely no law because we've grown. We make our own decisions now based on love, based on the fact that we have His Holy Spirit. Unless you don't have His Holy Spirit, and then you're not His son. But you see, you are potentially His son. Because all you have to do is receive the Spirit. And that doesn't mean it's like, oh, well, I don't have it, and now I receive it, and it takes you over like this, and you got this Spirit thing. That's not what it's talking about. Spirit is mind. You receive an attitude, a different change of conscious mind, a belief. You have to begin to think for yourself. That's the Holy Spirit. You've got to start listening to the inner... See, our Father in heaven, He's in heaven. Heaven's in here. This is the temple, and this heart inside yourself is our Father in heaven's inside you. You're the temple, and the kingdom of our Father is within you. So you listen within. Like Elijah, you hear the still small voice. That's our Father in heaven. Not the rituals, not the thunder and the earthquake and the fire. Our Father in heaven's not in that. They did that for centuries, keeping all kinds of ceremonies and sacrifices and everything, and they found out that wasn't our Father in heaven. That was just a bunch of smoke and mirrors, like Oz behind the curtain. And you open up the curtain, you find out, oh, this is just a bunch of smoke and mirrors. But you see, there were symbolisms being done to teach us spiritual things. And now you have got to grow up. But your church doesn't want you to grow up. They don't want you to know about the spiritual meaning. They want to keep you under these literal things. You know, they got to sing holy things and say things over and over again. You're probably thinking, yeah, but Dave, all my family's in this church and I've got to go and so forth. Here's the problem. If you sit there in that church every week, you're going to get brainwashed. You've got to make a stand, not just for you, but for your children. You've got to say, no, I'm not going to sit here and listen to some goon who thinks he's better than me wearing a robe and a little beanie cap, sprinkling a little holy water on my daughter. You know, that you've got to wake up. You cannot perpetuate insanity any longer, friends. This world has to stop. We've got to stop sitting in front of our television and believing these commercials is really, oh, it says take these drugs. Go down and ask your doctor, right? It's kind of weird because they're making billions of dollars off this. And then the next time you look on the television, there's another commercial. The guy says that they're going to sue him because these drugs are killing people. Wake up. You're being deceived. You're being deceived by the pharmaceutical companies. Your government's deceiving you. These people running for president don't work for you. They work for the corporate entities who are trying to control us in every aspect of our life. Why do you think they're using oil instead of free energy? Free energy would be free, and they're not going to make any money and can't control us. So they're going to try and keep the world in this polluted, wasted state. They're going to try and keep you sick as long as they can and sell you products that you can't just make in your own garden. You've got to go to the store and get it because that way you pay them. Oh, and we're going to figure another way of getting money out of it. You got to pay insurance, monthly thing. It's a law. We've got money. We went to Congress. We had enough money to send people to Congress and lobby. What does that mean? It means that the laws are put into place at the behest of corporate entities who go and tell them what to do, and you don't get a say. Say, well, we're voting these... No, you're given a choice of 4 or 5 people to vote for. All 4 or 5 of those were put there by the corporate entities. They don't care which one you choose, maybe, or maybe they have one they already know, or whatever. But if some reason any one of these guys got in there, they can control any of them. They got their bases covered, don't worry. Because they have control of all the things that can be controlled by money. If you had zillions of dollars and you didn't like Pop-Tarts, you'd probably start a campaign against Pop-Tarts and there wouldn't be any more Pop-Tarts because you see you got all the money in the world. So don't think that Donald Trump's going to be your savior. Donald Trump has billions of dollars. He got that. Think about it. Billions? All right. So he hasn't just started, yesterday doing this. He's been doing this a while, and he knows how to manipulate, buy off. He's admitted he gave money to everybody. He's just buying people off. He knows how it works. He said, well, yeah, but, he knows how it works, so he won't do it anymore. Really? He's going to take his throne and step down now because he's president? No, he's just got more power now. More ways to make laws pass to make him more money. Because you see, the only way you can make money or become powerful in this world now is with money. So, he's not going to give up his money or his power. I'm sorry, friends. He may, in his mind, convince himself he's trying to help people. give you a couple of crumbs, we're going to give them a couple of crumbs, and I'm trying to help people. Yeah, this, eminent domain, this is for your own good, right? Because we've got to have society and build more cities and more roads and more government. And you're like, well, I guess that makes sense. No, you don't need more roads and more government. It's just more and more encroaching inside of your life. Taking over your mind, they're taking over the entire earth. There isn't going to be any more natural places for us to exist in a natural way. Every time the city grows out, most of you are like, oh, I like the city. That's nice. See, you've gotten to the point where you like the city because you've never been out there. You've never slept under a star. You've never spent a whole lot of time walking through an area where there was no city anywhere near, and you just got that peace come down, and you saw the flowers and the birds, and it's been a long time, hasn't it? You see, well, that's not going to exist anymore. And I don't mean national parks, where, you go through the gate and give them a ticket and pay your money, and you go in, there's a ranger. No, I mean natural, pristine wilderness, where you can just do whatever you want. There's a tree, you cut it down, you make a cabin. It's your land, because it don't belong to anybody. It's just natural life. Go out there and live. I don't mean just go out there and look at it like it's a hologram and you get to stand there and look at the deer. Oh, look at the deer. They feed the deer here. This is a park. No, I mean natural life. Living a life free of the worry of running around trying to get a token to pay your, for food, and passing a policeman and being scared he's going to pull you over and having to obey all the laws, and this is not the normal world. We weren't made or created to be controlled. We are to have dominion over our own lives. But somebody wants to control everybody else. But this world has confused everything. And they're saying, well, now, of course we've got to have government. Of course we've got to have police. Because we've got big cities and people are robbing each other and killing each other. So of course we have to have control. Problem is they're creating the uncontrolled. They're creating and building the cities, getting you under their wing, causing it to be so that you can only go to them to get food, giving you drugs, putting your children in an environment where they're going to grow up crazy, manipulating everyone, putting them in prison. They're the ones creating this, like they're doing with ISIS over there in the Middle East, and trying to make us believe that Muslims are it's just a bad religion, that's just the way they are. It's not true. The Muslims have been around for thousands of years. They were actually far more peaceful than the Christians. During the Dark Ages, the Christian religions had the Inquisitions and were killing everybody, and you had to obey and do what we say and everything. And the Muslims were living hundreds of years in peace. Jews came in and out of Palestine for years when the Muslims controlled that land, and they were in peace. They allowed them to worship the way they saw fit. The only reason that any of these Muslims are angry now is we've been bombing them for about 30, 40 years now. Straight. We've taken over all their institutions, and we're trying to destroy their way of life. Same thing is going to happen to Americans. See, they're trying to. They don't want anybody in America that wants to rule over their own lives and have some kind of freedom or anything like that. So little by little, they're going to convince us that white guys with guns are dangerous. Right? Any of this Constitution stuff, these people, it's they like religions. See, I was always raised as Jehovah's Witness. When I was raised, they told us that the government didn't like us and that we were persecuted. And I believed them. I actually went to school scared to death out of my mind that nobody would like me because I'm a Jehovah's Witness. Truth is that we actually were never messed with. Nobody ever sues one of Jehovah's Witnesses. They have so much authority and power. They've got lawyers that are more powerful than the ACLU. You don't mess with a Jehovah's Witness in court. Jehovah's Witnesses don't salute the flag. So as a little kid, I wasn't allowed to do that. So I was just standing there, like this. And the teacher came up to me and she said, "Why aren't you saluting the flag?" And I said, "It's against my religion." I was only like 7 or 8 years old. And she started screaming at me. She grabbed me and shook me and said, "You will do it," And so I went home and told my mom, and boo-hoo, doggy. The Watchtower and Bible and Tract Society called that school system, and I guarantee that principal was on the phone apologizing to our family profusely for fear that they would be sued, shut down, big scandal. You don't tell us what to do. You see, these organizations like Lutherans and Baptists, you think that they're being persecuted by the government? They are the government. They love religion. The government loves religion because that's how you make your little puppets. That's how you control the masses. You file them in these different, and you don't want one religion. Everybody thinks, they're trying to make a one world religion. They don't want that, because then you might, start learning something. If you could all get together on something, you might learn. They want it all broken up into different religions. Schizophrenia, Babylon, confusion. If they ever have a one world government, look out. Because that one world government is going to be a government where we're all plugged into like a Borg, and we're just totally gone. Right? So, up to now, they've wanted this confusion. You see, that's Jehovah confused the languages back in the Tower of Babel. And I was telling you guys before the other day, a lot of you think that, somehow that was a good thing. Jehovah came down and confused the language. Think about it. What that's saying is Jehovah doesn't want us to communicate. All right, well, that's why there's all these religions in the world. They don't want you to be on the same page. They don't want you to know the truth. They want you to be in confusion. They want Babylon. Our Father in heaven wants us to know the truth. But we have to be willing to receive the truth. And that means that we've got to be willing to realize that what we have now is confusion. What we have now is a lie. We've been deceived. If you can't even stop and think about whether or not you've been deceived, then you're never going to know the truth. If you're just going to accept hook, line, and sinker what you've already been told, then you don't know if what you have is the truth or not. But just stop and think about it. Satan is the god of this world. He has all the authority in this world, this carnal world. The Lord's kingdom hasn't come yet. So every institution and everything that's on this world is going to be run by him. And yet you're sitting in your little church listening to what they're telling you. Friends, it's very important that you get out of those churches. Now, I know a lot of you are thinking, "Oh, Dave, I just sit there and everything, and it's all right. My family's there. I've got to have this church." Friends, you've got to understand that it's not just a matter of, "Well, I know better. I just go." You've got to get out of there. You've got to get out of there. You've got to be an example to others. You can't perpetuate this insanity. If you just sit there and let your kids think this church is fine, they'll grow up going to your church. They'll grow up with this brainwashing. They'll grow up with this fear. This lock, stock, and barrel obedience. "Oh, you want our guns? Here, take our guns. We don't know what to do with these things. We might hurt somebody. But the police, they can handle it. They only kill somebody once in a while, and they beat people up and stuff. And it's just, guns in the hands of the police is just great." Now, if we don't have any guns and no way to protect ourselves, are you going to trust the police and the government? You realize they bring in martial law into a city over anything? An earthquake, martial law. Oh, there's a storm coming. Now they're making a big deal out of every storm that comes through. "Oh, there's going to be a foot of snow. Oh my goodness, we're setting a record. It might be a half inch more snow than there was last year. Oh my goodness, we need the National Guard. Everybody get off the street." If somebody, did you hear? There was 3 people died in that storm. No, there's probably on average 50 people that die in that town every day. And they take 3 of them and say, "Oh, they died because of the storm." They were old people that would have died anyway. I mean, the point is they're just making all this up. They're trying to make you believe that there's just a big national disaster and it's so terrible and the ISIS is there and they're going to come behead us and we're running out of oil, we're running out of electricity, we're running out of water, we're going to die, and we need this whole government to save us. Don't you see? But hey, don't take the right to go to church away. Take your guns, but You have the right to go to any church and get brainwashed as much as you want, because we like that. But we don't really like it when you don't believe in church, when you don't believe in our brainwashing. These New Age people, these people who believe in spiritual things, no, thinking for themselves, believe in the Constitution, which is the rights and freedoms for all. We don't like that. Think about it, friends. So anyway, I guess that's all I've got to say today. Friends, I'm going to go ahead and close. I don't know how long I've gone on this video. 37 minutes. Well, that's about right. So I'll go ahead and close and get this loaded. You guys have a great day. It's David Vose, signing off.